Alright people, what's going on? Space Cowboy here. Welcome back to the channel with another video for you guys today. Before we get started with today's video, please make sure to leave a like on this video. It's been helping the channel out a lot, so please make sure to continue to do so. I'm very grateful for you guys, so please keep it up. Thank you. Also, if you're new here, please make sure to subscribe to get more Dallas Cowboys content from yours truly now and in the future, as well as hitting the notification bell to be notified when I go live or post new content. So today, I wanted to have a discussion about the future of this offensive line and what should we expect going forward. Now, I did a position group analysis, as you know, and I'm just talking about in the now. I think that this is a really good offensive line unit. Now, the questions start to arise of when you look 4 to 5 years down the line, are there questions that need to be answered, such as, do we need to move on from certain people? Do we have right pieces in place? This, that, and the third. So, currently, you know, we've been used to seeing the Cowboys offensive line being a juggernaut in and of itself, mammoths to really control the line of scrimmage, and we've had that ability to not really worry about offensive line for quite some time, because when you invest a lot of draft capital, especially high draft capital, into your offensive line, you're going to get a lot of studs, and and that's huge. The problem is that the Dallas Cowboys, I think, need to start preparing for the inevitable, in which Tyron might retire early as he gets more tread on his tire, and Zack Martin. Luckily, I think we don't have to worry about Zack yet, because he still has time, and he really hasn't had that much of an injury problem up until recent. So, as you know, with Travis Frederick's retirement, it does put a massive question. I think this really spoke volumes for how we kind of took for granted the players we have in terms of our offensive linemen. When you have the three main pillars, and one of them, especially the center, which is, in my opinion, one of the more important positions on the offensive line, ends up retiring, it's scary, because it's like, oh, it was out of the blue. But luckily, the Cowboys did manage to get someone in Tyler Biadasz, who I think is your long-term starter going forward. And, who knows, maybe you keep him around, and maybe he's the next good center that the Cowboys need. Now, the key thing is, and I think that we should all understand, that the Cowboys shouldn't have to go into the first round for the next 5 years and pick up offensive linemen. That's not the case. What we need to do is we need to do better at drafting offensive linemen in the later rounds, which the Cowboys have been pretty good at getting offensive line depth at this point. Now, as we know, we have Connor Williams, who he's getting progressively better, but he's also been getting injured a lot. And we don't know what's going to happen with Connor McGovern, because he got hurt last year, so we don't know what he's going to look like with this offensive line unit, whether he's a starter or a backup. So there are a couple question marks there. So I first want to start off with the left tackle position. Now, Tyron, I think, is the next domino to fall out of the three main guys that we had, the three main guys that I mentioned, in Travis, Zack, and Tyron. Now, why is that? Well, as we've seen, Tyron has gotten progressively more injury prone as he's gotten more years in the league. His body, while he's 30 years old, going on 31, or 29 going on 30, yeah, sure, that's still young, and he probably has plenty of more years left, relatively speaking, because you can see some guys play tackle till they're 37 or whatever the case may be. But when you have so many years in the league, you can only take so much, and especially once you start getting hurt and consistently start getting hurt, odds are that it's not going to get better. So I don't blame anybody having questions about Tyron Smith's health and whether or not is it time to start thinking, should we cut him, this, that, and the third. So I first want to say, I'm not saying you move on from him yet. I think you wait until it reaches a certain peak to where we start seeing that. So, like, if he continues to still get hurt and he's not worth the money we're giving him, that's one thing. And we got to also see how the offense performs and whether or not he's still integral, which I think he is. I think as long as he's healthy, he's one of the best tackles in the league, especially at the left tackle position. But when you look at his contract, the Cowboys have now entered a period where now they can opt out of his deal. Okay, 2020 is that year. We had to wait until 2019 since he got that new deal back in 2014. And we're finally here where Tyron, we can eject him if we want to. Okay, And honestly, I don't see a reason to. I mean, you have him under contract for 4 more years, and unless it becomes a legitimate, serious issue to where he's missing a lot of games and he's being counterproductive to your offense in terms of production, then I could see a reason to let him go. But he hasn't, like, when he's been on the field and he's been healthy, he's been very good. You know, yeah, there's a couple moments where he gives up plays here and there, but overall, I do think that Tyron, you know, he's still that guy, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that we can't think about, hey, if there's a guy that's younger, going to be cheaper, that can produce just as good as Tyron can, then there shouldn't be an issue in maybe letting go. But right now, I'm not on that bandwagon yet. I'm not on that, you know, on that train that says we got to kick Tyron off a bridge. But it's time to start having those discussions, though, especially if, you know, because it's like the same thing. He says, oh, this is the best year I felt in shape, or something around that caliber, and then we see what happens. Now, I want to move it over to Zack Martin. Now, as you know, with Zack Martin, you know, he's been with the team since 2014, and ever since he stepped foot on the football field for the Cowboys, he's been a Pro Bowl All-Pro right guard. Best one in the league, bar none, in my opinion. Now, I will say that he's going to be 30 this season, and I think he hasn't had really the injury thing pop up. He's had a couple knee issues and stuff like that start to flare up, but nothing of serious note similar to, like, of that of Tyron, where it's like, yo, like, he keeps missing games, this is an issue. No, because, you know, like with Zack Martin, he's going to go to the Hall of Fame at some point. I mean, hell, at this point, it's just a matter of time before we see these guys go to Canton. I don't know about Travis, but I'm more talking about Tyron and Zack Martin. So when you look at his deal, in terms of the contract we gave Zack Martin, okay, we gave Zack Martin his deal prior to the start of the 2018 season. And we don't really have an eject button for his contract, okay? And we have him under contract till 33. So honestly, I think that left tackle and right guard are more or less set at the guys you have. It just comes down to, do you have depth for when they step out? And then it's the question of, okay, is it that serious to where we have to let him go? And I don't think Zach's going to have that issue. I think that if it begins to flare up, we start having those conversations. But honestly, I'm not going to sit here on dog on Tyron, or more so Zach, especially for the injury thing, because again, usually when they're healthy, they put up, you know, a good enough play to where they're not a liability, right? It's not like, for example, it's not like a situation to where Tyron Smith, now that he's healthy and he's playing like Chaz Green or whoever the heck that you want to compare him to that isn't good, right? Because think about it. Tyron at like 70% is still a pretty good tackle, you know? And same thing with Zack Martin. Like, they're so good that even if they operate at 75 to 80%, they're still really good. Now, at right tackle, you have Lyle, who luckily has been a very consistent part of your offense. He hasn't had any issues. And, you know, he's younger. He's about 27, 28. And I think that now that he's coming into his own, you know, you don't have to worry about that. And I think that the Cowboys, honestly, they've gotten younger at the center position more so because, well, yeah, Joe Looney's still there and he's up there in age, but I'm more so talking about long term. I think at the long term, at this juncture, I think that the Cowboys might have something at center with Tyler Badass, however you want to call him. Left guard still has some question marks. I think that long term wise, it might end up being they let Connor Williams go and maybe Connor McGovern, or maybe they just draft someone new to come in. We don't know. But I think that ultimately it comes down to a couple things. The Dallas Cowboys, first off, they need to continue making sure to keep getting offensive line depth every single year. Okay, that's number one. And they've been doing that over the past couple years. Number two is they need to find starters in later rounds or potential starters in later rounds. So, for example, getting a guy like Connor McGovern if he pans out, third round pick. Tyler Biotish, fourth round pick. Because a lot of these offensive linemen that you see on many other, Super Bowl teams and this, that, and the third, it's very rare that they're first-round picks. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't use a first-round pick on a lineman, because guess what? They're pretty much one of the safer picks, especially if they're a very sound offensive lineman. But overall, I really do think that we don't have an issue right now because, they are putting up consistent production. If one of these guys gets hurt and then his play begins to dip to where it's not worth having him at that price tag, is when we start having that conversation, right? Now, Tyron, I hate to reiterate this, but I want to stress this fact, right? If Tyron has his play diminished because of his injury, which I haven't seen at a significant level to warrant me saying we need to cut or move on from him, then we should probably keep him and let the contract go its course and then go get someone. Because I'm at that particular juncture right now. You have 4 to 5 more years with Tyron and Zack before you can make a decision on getting a younger guy to come in and replace them. And who knows, maybe in the years down the line, the Cowboys end up taking a tackle with a first-round pick, and then they can try to, push Tyron off a bridge or with Zack. But I don't see a reason to move on from now, but that doesn't mean we can't start having these questions. So I want to end off by saying this. Right now, don't think that the offensive line for the Cowboys is straight up garbage, but also don't kid yourself in thinking that it's going to be at that 2014-2016 type of level. Because you don't need that to win a championship. You just need them to just do their job, right? So there's that. Now, in the comment section, what do you have to say about this offensive line and the future of it? Do you think that we should worry? Do you think that certain people are at risk of retiring early? This, that, and the third? Feel free to leave that down below. I'll make sure to check them out. And with that being said, guys, once again, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification about all that other crap, and I'll be seeing you guys later. Peace out, guys. Bye-bye.